Hello to you all, whenever, wherever. So, this will be different. I have been shown some correlations, some stuff, and the way I wanted to present it is not the way I'm supposed to present it. So, will change. Luckily, I wasn't live. So, it seems about the new moon that is upcoming. Very strong messages there. Also correlate a lot to one of our active planetary cycles. Well, not only one, but many. But there is one in particular that I have not yet presented in my presentation yet. And so I will now, to a certain degree. But I will start with the new moon, as this is our now time, and asks for very important decisions. So there was also Pluto, and he showed himself yesterday in the form of an article at space.com, and that article is talking about Pluto's orbit. And the article is mentioning the correlation between, or also Neptune and also Jupiter. They say that both of them are influencing the orbit of Pluto in the way so he would not he would be kept where it is, the orbit. Well, I have often thought it's very interesting when I did all these cycle researches, and so I was working a lot with the planetary axis and nodal axis. So I saw that the perihelion and aphelion axis of Neptune is jumping around a lot. I have talked about that before, and I was thinking about if it has anything to do with the orbits of other planets, but I didn't know which way. So, but at the same time I sometimes thought, or is it maybe the other way around? So, good question, right? Because not everything that comes from science is true. It may seem so, but it's always in change, as everything, as we can only look at it from the now point, from what we know now and are able to perceive in this linear way. And that's not only in science, that's also when it comes to choices we make, decisions we make, actions we take. We always do them from the knowledge and information we have at that point in space and time. And often we may see in the future, may that be fast or slower, that what effect it has. And if it's in coherence with what we wanted or not. And so we may make mistakes, decisions. We find out later that it was based on information that was maybe wrong or incomplete. And so we learn from that, right? We may not make the same mistakes again. And sometimes we make them again, and so we go a few times round and round, right? So, but one day we will get it and we will make other decisions. But if we blame ourselves and judge ourselves and beat ourselves up because we made a mistake, then that mistake will become much bigger than it really was. Sometimes when we then talk with people, we suddenly find out, oh no, I even forgot about it, or we find out that it really isn't that big deal. But that's only when we can stand there and say, yes, I made a mistake. And I'm sorry about it, but it's how it is. I made this mistake. And where do we go from here? So it's future oriented. It is about learning something and take that learning to the future. And you will see this new moon is a lot about what we take to the future. I will link the written post I made about it, so I may not actually repeat every single thing. But there are decisions to take, what we bring into the future and on what basis. And don't forget, this is all about our personal individual evolution, and with that of the whole Earth, the solar system, and maybe beyond. So it goes further than just a lifetime. So I will go with the charts and change this one here. Okay, so that we will look at a bit later. This one here is a chart from 1933. Oh no, we already have the new moon up. I'm good. So, this new moon around here, 1st of May 2022, universal time, on the 30th of April at 8:28:04 p.m. This is the heliocentric chart. So, as all the planets, including the Earth, are revolving around the sun, it is from that center point view of the sun where we can see in what relationship that the different bodies stand. So the Earth, that's here, yeah, is always together with the Moon as the Moon orbits the Earth. You can imagine the Sun is always opposite, yeah. So this new moon takes place here in Aries. The Sun is conjunct the Uranus, and Earth is here opposite, just under the feet of the Virgin. So the Sun is not exactly conjunct Uranus, but they are nearby. Okay, so what is most important is that we have certain correlations with that chart I mentioned from, this is the Uranus-Nessus conjunction in 1933, and that did actually take place just where Aries stands in this new moon chart. So we will see there are more correlations. I have written about this important placement here, right? It's the approaching heliocentric conjunction between Jupiter and Neptune, which is in opposition to Mercury, and in a 45-degree angle to, or from by Mars and Chariklo, who are in opposition with Varuna. So this does make a kind of an X. But there is more to it. There is also this kite-like thing going on here with Jupiter and Neptune, Uranus, but also here over to Pluto and Vesta. Here from Uranus it's down to Orcus, and from here it's down to Mercury. So we have here also Venus up here. You can see it better up here, yeah? So these are not exact. Because it shall show the importance and focal point here of the Jupiter and Neptune conjunction, because it's about the hanged man, the crossbow as well. And I looked it up. The hanged man talks about the ultimate surrender and sacrifice, and otherwise being suspended in time. The Hanged Man is the number 12 in the major arcana of the tarot. So we have 12 signs, not constellations. There we have 88. So this one here is important to understand. It is about to surrender and sacrifice the whole 12 signs to become one. To sacrifice kind of like the personality, that which we have built up, the monuments we have created, and we relive and relive and relive. So we have to use our abilities, we have to remember, we have to focus on these memories and the revelations we get through them, through whatever channel we may perceive individually. We can liberate ourselves and getting ready to jump up just like the salmon. But this means we have to transform ourselves, we have to transform our values and our vocal points. Orcus is talking about harmony and life path, but in a further way. Mercury is the communication, collaboration, but also mythical experiences. We have to transcend what we perceive, and we have to know what we gave shelter to, but we also have to see and know what is beneficial, what has the potential to grow into something that we would like to leave for future generations, but also for ourselves. There are things, they happen out of time and space. So a linear approach to these themes is not bringing us to where we want to be. Aries does have a 557 years orbit around the sun, and she stands where that Uranus Nessus conjunction took place in 1933. That means she wants to reveal and to show us what was going on back in that time, and in what form we are reliving it as a collective. We have to understand that the Aries-Sedna cycle was due to be a new conjunction in the 1920s or 1930s, and that wasn't possible due to interchange of speed. And now we are going back. So instead of conjoining and going into the new cycle, we are going back in further back into the old cycle. So it's kind of like a geocentric retrograde. So we are going back in the cycle to then come forth again, but that will be in over 200 years that they will actually conjunct again. So it's but where we are now, it's kind of a decision point, one of many that we have to make to see in which direction will we go, and each of us is deciding that individually and is not to be judged. The transformation shall take place. Did you see that? Okay, so Neptune wants us to gain clarity. Yeah? And we shall expand what we can perceive as possible. And we have to reconnect to those realms that we perceive as something outside of us, but is actually part of us, and we are part of that. We have to take down the veil that separates. We have to become what makes together, what makes whole, and we have to put our focus onto that. Nessus is a centaur, and as that, all the centaurs are guardians, but are also messengers, or the connecting links between Jupiter or more Saturn, Uranus, and the outer planets. So their orbits are going in a very elliptic way, and so can connect the realms of the societal. When we put that back to geocentric perception, it's the connection between the societal and the generational planets and further. So Nessus has been conjunct with Uranus in 1933, as I mentioned right here. And there were similar patterns to observe in that chart. Yeah, it's also similar like this cross here. It's similar, not the same. So, but we have this time, we have a closed one. this kind of rectangle X thing here, yeah, it's closed, whereas it was open in 1933. So, as I understand, it means here it is kind of like a, I've read that the shapes in buildings, in temples, in all kinds of places that are also used as for initiations, that they are all in rectangular form. I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting, because it's also, when you think about very interesting how things were perceived and how much has been left to us as clues to solve the puzzles, right? And we all do that from different angles, right? We all have a different viewpoint, but we all can actually collaborate together to gain a bigger picture, because we all hold some puzzle pieces. So what I some time ago, what I noticed is, when I was watching some videos by Nassim Haramein about quantum physics, he had some model that represented the center structure of everything, of the, in the Planck scale, as the center of a proton, so, or maybe a black hole. And that structure, when he put it around, yeah, that model, it clearly showed rectangles. And then I realized, when I looked at other structure, geometric structures, I could see that there is always, in the middle, there is always a rectangle. So it's interesting also when we think about that important 19.47 or something degrees of equatorial north and south, yeah, this equatorial thing, so that if you would put it flat out, it would also make like kind of a rectangle, a bit a long one, but yeah, anyway, so I was thinking about these things too, so there are correlations with all of it, and I'm not sure how these things exactly do shift with like the the tilt of the axis, the polar axis. So, but I'm sure there will be some correlations, or there are some, and a very dedicated sidereal astrologer has been on a quest in Egypt the last few months, and he discovered interesting phenomena, that there were angles all over the place that did point to 23.5 degrees, and that's also near the axle, the tilt of the axis now. So there are many correlations, and I will link as much as I find out about who I was now referring to, so that you can take contact with these people if you should be interested. So, I don't know. It is a strange one to me. So, and I apologize for that, but I had to let be guided. So I don't really remember what I already said and what not, but so here is the chart of that 1933 conjunction. And you can see here there was Nessus and Uranus, and there was also Venus. So it was actually a triple conjunction, and actually it was illuminated by the sun, because you see here opposite we have the Earth, and was conjunct with asteroid Juno. Asteroid Juno talks about one-to-one relationships, but also the one with ourselves, or the one with the all, or the one with source, or the universe, or however, God, or whatever you want to call it. So that's important, because Earth points out what is our basis, our foundation on what we built. So, and Uranus is the liberator, but he is also about technology. Venus, the heart, the values, the beauty. Nessus, as I mentioned, a centaur, and he looks like an ugly guy or a bad guy in this way, because we may perceive mostly the negative side, which is like abuse, but also self-abuse, harm, neglect, and abandonment. And so at this spot here, the end of Pisces, and still at the bond of that clockwise swimming fish, we have to know, we have to see and understand what the past has tried to show us. We earlier here, around here, we have Chiron standing right now, which is about at the place where we talk about uncovering, where we have put like a blanket over furniture that we want to protect. But there can be not only lies, there can also be the good things, yeah, like our abilities, or beauty that we may have forgotten about, or values that we have forgotten about when we talk about Venus as well. So this plays all together, yeah. So what the information we get here from the whole fish, yeah, is coming together at the knot. But the knot is already, the decision is already made, the choice is made. So we make the choice a bit before, and then we start moving towards it, and we make further choices, yeah, because we have to know what we take with us for that journey. And there is one thing. This here is the upward swimming fish, and I had that metaphor in my head earlier today, that it is like the salmon. The salmon has the natural ability to swim against the flow and jump over any obstacles that come, that may be in our way. So, but we have to trust, yeah. Trust is an important thing that Neptune is talking about, yeah. So trust, and we can see here Neptune, and as he is always, you know, that all these long-term cycles that I have studied, Neptune is always either by direct aspect or by the nodal axis involved, or also perihelion and aphelion, and it's interesting. And as I say, it jumps quite a lot. At the moment, it's in the Pisces Virgo, but back here it was in Taurus Scorpio. But at the end, just like where near where Mercury stood in 1933. But you can see also Mercury is again also very strongly involved in the new moon chart. So it's really, it goes together, and as he just showed himself, we shall not forget Pluto, yeah. So he is here, as you can see, 1933, in a forming a T to this axis, yeah. So we have a triangle that does not span the whole 360 degrees. But we also here have Ceres, nourishment, yeah. And you can see this, I found that interesting. So we have here this dum, da, dum, da, da, up, yeah, this pattern, but it's cut in two almost exactly by here Mars and Aries here. So again, we have the same players, right? Now, almost 90 years later. And as I said here, stop and see, listen or feel, or best altogether, stop and reflect, stop and remember, and also the laws. And that's not meant in a biblical way, but it's about the universal laws. And going back to Egypt, I read a book that is said to be a translation of the Emerald Tablets, and by Thoth or Thoth or Hermes Trismegistos, which may be the same. So anyhow, it was very interesting that there was all the time emphasis on the laws. And the laws are also talking about the law of rhythm. It's like, it goes this way and that way, it comes back, it goes, it comes back. And that we can jump over that, right? And this jumping over that is signified by this upward swimming fish. And so we are at the choice point now, because there is also a special aspect between Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus. And so we have to make our choice. It's not one that we have to make tomorrow or the day after tomorrow and live with the rest of our lives. But slowly but surely, we will see more and more of the differences between those who make certain decisions and those who make other decisions. And don't forget, it goes further. We do not live only once. We live ongoing. And we decide how. There are not two ways. There are more than two. So that brings us to polarity. Polarity, there are not only 2 points, but there is also the whole. As I have talked about many times, when we think we have to choose between good and bad, then we are in half-truths on both sides, because what we love can trap us, and what we don't like can trap us. It's on both sides. It's a pole, and poles only work when they work as an axis, as one together. So to stay either here or here is a half-truth, and will not, maybe not bring us what we really need or want, because it feeds the illusion of separation. So I will have to listen this myself again, because I don't know what I said anymore. So anyway, even so, I feel it's strange, but I will publish it. So with that said, I think I will close this video with again giving that message of surrender and sacrifice those poles. It's kind of like to let it implode so it can unfold anew. It's maybe like a dark night of the soul. It's like getting that all out, and then living the consequences and embracing what is coming up, and in what way we have to deal with it. And everything that one of us does heal does the same for the whole. So, but maybe healing is not the right word, because healing indicates that there is something wrong, and there isn't. It's all just steps within the whole evolution, and sometimes we need to have the bad in order to see the good. And so from this perspective, there is never ever anything wrong or broken or needs healing or anything. It just only needs the recognition of what it is, and then the action. Yeah. So with that, I'm closing, and I wish you all the best, and I'm sending love. See you next time.